been keeping myself busy. 10 thou skimmed out of it, whereas this has had 20 thou. That looks pretty sweet. Little bit of dust in the paint there. Just look at the shine on that from a rattle can. Genuine Ford oil filter. Don't mess about with aftermarket oil filters. I've usually been quite successful with these. It's looking pretty bad inside that water jacket. There's just loads of just crud, just horrible, gunky, rusty, yeah, disgustingness. And around here, it's pretty bad. I might have actually messed this up a little bit. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and today the weather is a bit grim in this part of England, but I've been keeping myself busy by doing a bit of running around. I've finally been to see my zinc platers to drop off all the hardware from the crossflow engine that will soon be going into Heidi, my hearing aid beige model Mk2 Escort. So yeah, hoping to get all those nuts and bolts and stuff back in about a week, and then I can start bolting the bits that I painted in the last video back on to Heidi's engine. I will in a minute show you what her rocker cover's looking like, which I painted in the last video as well. But another stop off I've made today is at AR Valley & Sons Precision Engineers to pick up Heidi's flywheel and her clutch cover, which have both been skimmed by Carlo there. And here they are. Now, this flywheel was absolutely ruined. It had deep gouges in it, and it's now been skimmed by 20 thousandths of an inch, or 20 thou, by Carlo. And yeah, that is looking awesome. So really happy that I've been able to save Heidi's flywheel. It means I haven't had to buy another one. Another thing that Carlo was saying to me is that it was actually mounted to the machine for him to skim it by this flange, where it actually mounts to the crank rather than, you know, gripping it here like some people will do. So that means that he's skimmed it so that it's square with this face that goes on the crank. So yeah, less chance of it, you know, sort of wobbling when it's spinning on the crank. But yeah, that is looking awesome. He decided to just stop short here rather than skimming the whole thing because these dowels are quite seized in there, but you know, the friction plate doesn't go out this far anyway, so that's absolutely fine, and it means he hasn't skimmed any unnecessary meat or strength out of the flywheel. You know, it's not about making this thing light, it's just on a standard engine. I just needed this face to be nicely machined for the clutch, and yeah, that is looking really cool. And this clutch cover, I wasn't actually sure whether he'd be able to save this or not, because, you know, when he's machining it, obviously it's going to be putting pressure down this way, and these things are spring loaded. But luckily, Carlo was able to use a really sharp tool, and he was able to do this for me. This has only had 10 thou skimmed out of it, whereas this has had 20 thou skimmed out of it. So yeah, that's awesome that I don't need to get another flywheel, don't even need to buy a new clutch, because the friction plate that came off of Heidi's engine was virtually brand new. So happy days. Heidi's crossflow engine is looking pretty sweet now, even if I do say so myself. In the last video, I painted the cylinder head black, and I think, yeah, this was a good idea, doing the block silver and the cylinder head black. I removed the sump before I went to see the zinc platers, just because the 4 bolts that were holding the sump on, I can now get zinc plated with the rest, so that every single bolt for the sump will be zinc plated, along with all the other bolts that I took off of this thing, as well as the lower pulley. I still need to get a water pump pulley actually. You know, everything I took off this engine basically has been taken to be zinc plated. Now up here we've got the rocker cover that I painted in the last video, and Heidi's boot and bonnet hinges. I think I'll just throw this on the engine so you can have a look. I think you'll agree that looks pretty sweet. Actually a really decent finish on this rocker cover, especially considering I did it in rattle cans, and the runs that I mentioned, which were around this side, have actually all flowed out, it seems. So yeah, no need to polish it. There's just a little bit of dust in the paint there that I may or may not wet and dry and polish. This engine is going to have the original airbox on it and stuff, so yeah, you'll pretty much only see the front of this if I remember rightly. But yeah, so happy with how this engine's looking. But it's nowhere near finished yet. Wait till we get those gloss black parts fitted with the freshly zinced hardware. It's going to look awesome. Anyway, we'll hang this back up safely. Try not to knock it into the wall. And yeah, let's have a quick look at one of these hinges. Just look at the shine on it. I mean, there's a bit of a run there, but just look at the shine on that from a rattle can. It's amazing that you can get proper 2-pack spray cans. And those rattle cans that I've used for these bits were of course purchased from my friends at BODICRAFT in Watford. And don't forget, you can save 10% off of everything at BODICRAFT by using my discount code MH10. And I'll leave a link to their website in the description. Yeah, we'll hang this up out of the way as well. Now, I'm actually going to see the company that prints my banners this evening to pick up the banners that I've been waiting for quite a while. They sent me a batch and I wasn't 100% happy with them, and they've now been reprinted. So to everyone who is waiting for a banner, I know it's been quite a while, apologies, but yeah, you should have them by the time this video comes out, if not within the next couple of days. But whilst I am around here, I am going to take care of what I'm hoping is going to be a quick and easy job on this engine. And it involves these core plugs that have finally come through the post. Although there is something else that came through the post for this engine today, and that is a genuine Ford oil filter. I always like to use genuine Ford oil filters on my engines, and I've got genuine Ford oil filters available on my website at marcushayesuk.com, not only for crossflows but also for Z-Techs and stuff. So yeah, if you're after an oil filter for your car, definitely head over to my website and grab a genuine Ford one. Don't mess about with aftermarket oil filters. It's far too early to be installing Heidi's oil filter, so that can sit safely in its box for a bit. Alright, so before I fit these new core plugs, I obviously need to remove the old ones, and that's going to give me a look inside the water jacket, and I'm expecting there to be plenty of rusty debris in there, which I can hopefully scrape and hoover out. But anyway, need to remove the old core plugs, and the way that I like to do it is by getting a chisel on one side of it, hitting it with the persuader, and then that should rotate the core plug in the hole, and then I can grab hold of it with a pair of mole grips and pull it out. That's the plan. And in the past, I've usually been quite successful with these, although I have heard horror stories online where people have ended up banging them in, and they've ended up inside the engine. So let's hope we're successful with this today. It is looking pretty bad inside that water jacket, but we'll get the others out first and then we'll have a look. Alright, so I've pulled the lump out into the light because it's not raining at the moment, and yeah, if we look inside the water jacket here, there's just loads of just crud, just horrible, gunky, rusty, yeah, disgustingness. And around here it's pretty bad. So that makes me really glad that I've actually decided to change the core plugs, and it means that I'm going to be able to get as much of that out as I can before fitting the new core plugs. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm literally going to poke around inside the water jacket with my screwdriver, whilst also sucking out any debris with the hoover, and hopefully I'll be able to get most of the gunk out of there. And then by the time I give this thing a flush or two, once it's in Heidi's bay and it's up and running, yeah, it should be sweet. I fired up my generator and my hoover, and I was actually able to poke around and remove quite a lot of debris from inside Heidi's engine block. The worst of the debris was around the back of the engine block, but there wasn't any in the cylinder head, which was good. And around the front of the engine, I had a poke around where the water pump and thermostat housing goes as well. Alright, well, I definitely got some crud out of the block. I'm not going to say there isn't some more in there, but I'd like to think that just me prodding around inside the block is going to mean that a lot of it's loosened up, so that when we flush the block through, all that will come out as well. And when I took this core plug out, which was the first one, it just looked like there was loads of debris in there, and now it's all clear. The cylinder head actually wasn't blocked at all. This one here where the thermostat housing goes, and this one round here, I mean, it's all orange in there, but yeah, there was actually no debris in there at all. It was just in the block, mainly in this one at the back of the engine, and as you would have seen in a previous video, there was quite a bit in here when I first removed the water pump, and yeah, I've given that a more thorough clean out as well. So yeah, I'm happy now to move on with actually fitting the brand new core plugs. Now I've actually got a drift set which is ideal for this kind of job, but you can just use a socket and a hammer. In fact, I don't have a drift big enough for this big core plug, which is the one that goes in there. So yeah, I'm gonna have to use a socket for that. It's not an ideal size either, to be honest. It's a bit small, and the next socket up is too big. So yeah, I'll just be careful. Essentially, you just need to make sure that these go in nice and straight, and that you don't go beyond flush with the block. You just bang them in until this bit here is flush with the block. Now, I've heard different opinions about whether these should go in dry or with sealer, but the way I've always done it is with some Loctite, and I'm guessing that that's just the way that I heard they're done the first time I done them, and I've never had a core plug leak that I've fitted myself, so that's just the way that I do them. So I'm going to use this nut lock from my friends at Kent Europe, but before I install the core plugs, I am going to clean the holes out a little bit, and I'll just use this 320 sandpaper, also from Kent, just to clean any dirt or, you know, debris off of the holes. You know, I'm not going to go mad, literally just to clean them up, and then I'll apply a tiny bit of this nut lock just on the rim round here, and then bang them into the block using my drift set, and of course using the socket for this larger one. Simple as that. Let's crack on with it. The sandpaper cleaned up the core plug hole really easily, and then I used a tiny smear of the Loctite on the new core plug. The drift tool actually slips into the core plug, making it easier to bang it in evenly, but you still have to keep an eye on it. And now that it's nearly in, I can see that the top is in further than the bottom, ever so slightly. So when you're sort of hitting it, you can hit it at an angle so that you're only pushing on the bottom, because this must go in dead straight. Yeah, that's more straight now, so now I can hit it square again for the last little bit. This is one of those jobs that you can easily mess up, but if you take your time, it's not difficult to do. So with one core plug down and 3 to go, I just needed to repeat the process for the other core plugs. For the larger one, I used a socket and a bar instead of the drift tool, which I think worked okay. And there it is, all of the core plugs installed into Heidi's engine, which now has a lot less rusty crud inside the water jacket. I might have actually messed this up a little bit. This larger one, which I knew was going to be a little bit more difficult because I didn't have the right size drift, it was basically going in bent and the bottom was in too far. And I know that these are prone to leak if they're not in straight, so I had no choice but to bang the top in so that that was in too far, but so that it is now in even. You know, it's a good, what, couple of mil in too far, but I think it's straight, so fingers crossed that'll be all right. But yeah, all the others are in as perfect as I'm able to get them. Do need to wipe away the excess nut lock though. The blue doesn't go with the engine's colour scheme. That's more like it. Anyway, time for me to go and pick up the banners from the printers, but I will be around it tomorrow, hopefully, weather permitting, and I'm going to continue this video then, so I'll see you in a sec. Hello, into a new day, and yesterday, as planned, I managed to pick up my banners from the printers. So you guys that have been waiting for your banners that you've already ordered, they are now on their way. Apologies again for the delay. I do have some extras which are now in stock on my website for anyone who hasn't grabbed a banner yet. They normally sell out pretty fast, so definitely go and order one ASAP. I've also now got in stock t-shirts, sweatshirts and hoodies with the new designs on, and these are available in all sizes now, and the t-shirts are now available in white, grey and the black. So yeah, head over to my website and check those out. Another thing, randomly, in December I had to send out my copy of my calendar to one of you guys because basically the postman failed to deliver your calendar, and it was a Christmas present. So yeah, I just about managed to send my copy out to whoever that was, and yeah, they were able to give it to their husband for Christmas, which I was really happy about. Well, I then ended up finding a random calendar in amongst my merch, so I've now got a copy for myself. But today the postman actually returned that calendar that they failed to deliver to that person just before Christmas. So I've now randomly got one calendar available on my website. I'm not going to bother advertising it on my social media. This is the first time that I'm mentioning it. So if you're watching this video and you missed out on a calendar, if you're the first person to head over to my website and order the one that I've got in stock, then yeah, happy days. Anyway, today the weather has been all over the place. It was absolutely chucking it down with rain earlier, and I basically planned to stay in all day and just edit the footage that I'd already captured yesterday that you've already seen earlier in this video. And then randomly at about 1:30 in the afternoon it brightened up. So I'm rushing over to my garage now. You know, I need to make progress on Heidi whenever I can. Some progress is better than no progress. So I'm going to get over to Heidi's garage as soon as I can and make said progress. Alright, got Heidi out of her garage and I want to turn my attention back to her interior. I recently made a start on putting stuff back onto the dash. You know, got the dash top fitted, got this crash pad fitted, the vents, got the cowling fitted and the clocks. And the next thing that I was going to fit in terms of the interior is the heater box. I've experienced a leaky heater matrix in INSTA, my Mk2 Escort. I actually still haven't got round to changing that. I've just got the heater bypassed in that car. So, seeing as I don't know the history of the heater box that I got with Heidi, I thought it's better that I check that it isn't leaking before I fit it to the car. Now, I've got Heidi's heater box over here, and I'm sure you can guess exactly what's going on when you see that I've kind of got it plumbed into Maud's coolant system. Well, I will have in a minute. But yeah, as I say, I think it's better if I find out now if this heater matrix is leaking rather than after I've fitted it to the car and after I've put the rest of the dash back together and stuff. So I've got one hose connected to one of the pipes on the heater matrix, and I'll just run that to a bucket. And then this pipe, I'm going to actually run into the bottom hose of Maud's coolant system. Now, the bottom hose on Maud is actually this metal one, which was made for me by my friend Lee Booth. Massive shout to you if you're watching. Oh, Lee recently purchased another really cool old school Ford, which I'm hoping to show on the channel very soon. Anyway, I digress. Now, Lee fitted this sort of drainage bung on the bottom of this metal pipe, and what I'm planning to do is basically undo this bung and then very quickly, before all the water comes out of Maud's radiator, attach this hose to that union and yeah, just do it up with this sort of weird Jubilee clip thing. And then I can run Maud's engine and we can see if Heidi's heater matrix is going to leak or not. I hooked up the hose from the heater box to Maud's bottom radiator hose as planned. Well, it's already running through. Let's fire her up and add some pressure. I kept topping up Maud's radiator to stop it running dry, and it seemed like there was no water leaking out the bottom of Heidi's heater box, even when I upped the revs on Maud's engine. So I called that a win, removed the hose from Maud and put her bung back in, got her back on the ground, and then filled her radiator back up with coolant. Then I removed the pipes from Heidi's heater box, gave it a hoover out to remove all the leaves that were inside, and then I gave it a clean with the Kent brake cleaner. The heater box mounts under the dash onto these 4 brackets, which each have one of these clips. These are the bolts. One of them isn't zinc plated and one of them isn't actually the correct bolt, but they'll do the job. First, I wanted to treat the inside of the heater bubble with this transparent wax, so I taped up all the holes and then started spraying the wax inside using the regular nozzle for this job. I bought 2 brand new seals for the heater box. This one goes around where the fan is, and this one goes in the engine bay where the pipes poke through. It was a bit tricky lifting the heater box into position, getting it round the wiring loom, but once I had, it was just a case of doing up the 4 bolts, and then I found that the mounting holes for the control panel were behind this dash pad. So I removed that, manoeuvred the control panel into its position, and screwed it in with the 2 screws. Refitted the dash pad with a few taps. And then that was the heater box fully installed. All right, heater box is in. Bit of a fiddly job, but glad I've got it done because it opens up the opportunity to crack on with more jobs inside Heidi's interior. When I was looking at this sort of control panel when the heater box was out of the car, I was kind of thinking that maybe I should have given that a repaint. I know you can get the little stickers to replace these symbols, but yeah, the actual face itself, there's sort of paint chipping off. I mean, now it's in the dash, you don't really notice it. I mean, it's no more noticeable than this and, you know, other stuff. But yeah, if I'd have noticed that before, I would have given that a repaint. But I didn't want to delay fitting the heater box just for that. If it does ever annoy me, I can, you know, give it a repaint and then put the stickers on, as I say. It was quite hard getting the heater box underneath the dash, and obviously I didn't want to touch the dash at all. I don't want to scratch the dash because, you know, I've given this a fresh coat of satin black. But yeah, managed to do it and, you know, get it, you know, around the wiring loom. And now the heater box is fitted, you know, I can finish fitting the wiring loom, you know, clean up all these contacts and, you know, get the fuse box plugged in, etc., get the switch panel fitted. So yeah, you know, now that the heater box is in, it does really open up the opportunity to crack on with some more work inside this interior, because yeah, I want to finalise things like that before I start chucking the seats in and stuff like that, which I am gagging to do. But there you go. Now, this has been another video where I don't consider I've done enough for a video, but I know that you guys like the more regular updates, so I am going to end this video here with, yeah, literally a set of core plugs and a heater box fitted. But that's the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, as I get deeper and deeper into this project, you know, there's so many things that are sort of almost ready to happen that yeah, the next few videos should be very interesting. So massive thanks as always to everyone who's tuned into this video. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share, and if you could please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it. I'm so close to 20,000 subscribers. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, TikTok and Instagram. Check out my website for car parts and merchandise. Massive thanks as always to my patrons for your ongoing support. I'll leave all the links to everything in the description along with my email address for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.